So grab your gorgeous ball, your block, standard therapy balls, and then let's take the foam to your mat and let's begin on our backs. And just lie down onto your back, placing the foam under your head. Let the palms roll upward. Let your shoulder blades fall back. Keep your knees bent and ground your feet into the floor. Feel the soles of your feet, your heels, the mound of the big toe, the top of the big toe, the mound of the baby toe, of the pinky toe, and then the tip of the pinky toe, so that you feel all corners of the feet on the floor. And then let your hips sink, feeling them drop into the sockets of the pelvis. Let the heads of the hips be heavy. Allow the sacrum to be heavy. Maybe do just a couple really small pelvic tilts to feel into the entire surface of the sacrum. So tipping the pelvis forward and back like you're in a rocking chair, just exploring the front edges of the gliders and then the back edges, and then settling right in the middle. And then do the same side to side, just a little sway of the pelvis left and right. Feeling the right edge of the sacrum and the left edge of the sacrum. And then settling into the center from left to right. So lower body is grounded. Head is supported. Palms turned up in receiving. And then let yourself start to be nourished by the breath, feeling the breath flow in through the nostrils, feeling the breath sink down towards the back body as it flows inward and flows outward. Feel each inhale move into that space between the body and the floor, allowing the body to drop back towards the floor, leaning into support a little bit more. And then just to feel into sensations of tightness and of ease, let's take the left shoulder and start to scrunch it up towards the ear. Feel the shoulder blade lift, feel the upper back contract. Maybe even feel the palm squeeze towards a gentle fist so that you feel a tension and an upward movement through the whole right arm. Holding that, ramping up that contraction without causing pain or discomfort, just feeling the tension. And then start to dial down that contraction, letting the head drop back into the foam, the shoulder move away from the head and the ear, the arm reach out into a low V, and then the hand unfurl and relax. And then send your awareness and breath to that upper quadrant on the left between the ear and the shoulder. observing how it feels now. And then noticing if there's still any tension or tightness. Be curious about whatever sensation is coming up in that left side of the neck, and then maybe lean into it a little bit more. Maybe this time the ear tips towards the shoulder as the shoulder comes up towards the ear, feeling a shortening or contraction, maybe even some sensation in the ear and the jaw as you pull the left shoulder up towards the ear. Maybe the shoulder goes forward or back, whichever feels like that pattern that it's being pulled into. Scrunch the fist and feel what it's like to be tense for a moment or two. Taking one more breath, feeling the contraction, and then starting to turn the volume down of that contraction until the dial goes to off, allowing length in that space between the ear and the shoulder, an unfurling of the arm and the fingers. Let the whole left side of the neck, face, shoulder, and arm drop into the floor. And then let's compare the sensation now between the left and the right, noticing the difference just by drawing our awareness to that left side. Maybe you even notice a difference in the breath between the left and right side of the body. And now let's move towards the other side. Scrunching the right ear up towards the shoulder. Feeling the shoulder blade and shoulder move upward. Contracting the right side of the neck. Maybe even start to bend the elbow a little bit. Contract the fist. Feel that tension pattern through the right side of the shoulder, neck, arm, and face. Turn up the volume of that contraction just a little bit to lean into it and explore what it feels like. Pause and be with it without provoking any pain, just sensing what tension feels like in the right upper trap. And then softening, turning the volume down of that contraction, dialing back so that the right side of the neck lengthens. The right shoulder drops away from the ear. The right arm reaches out like a low V and the fingers unfurl. Stay with the sensation on the right side of the neck, allowing it to subside between repetitions. And then let's do another round. Maybe even begin by tipping the right ear towards the right shoulder, and maybe even turning the right cheek towards the right shoulder. Then pulling the right ear up, noticing if the shoulder wants to go forward or back, allowing it to move into the direction it desires, coming into that contractile pattern. Squeeze the fist, hold for 5, 4, observing what tension feels like. Maybe turn up the volume one more notch so that you see what happens next. And then slowly turn the volume down, softening one notch at a time. The shoulder, the neck, the jaw, the arm, and the hands. Letting the right arm unfurl. And then let the entire right upper quadrant, head, neck, shoulder, arm and hand drop into the floor. Feel the breath now flow in through both lungs simultaneously, coming in through the nostrils, filling the lungs, expanding the rib cage, and then emptying out completely. And now let's come back to the sensation of the feet. Spread your feet to about the width of your mat. And then now begin to gently just rock from side to side by windshield wipering the knees. First rocking from one edge of the sacrum to the other. Then rocking off the sacrum on towards the hip. Feeling that rocking move up through the lower back, building in momentum like a pendulum, creating a gentle wave of rocking up the entire spine so that you feel the ribs lift on one side and then the other. Maybe even feeling how one shoulder gently becomes unweighted and then the other. Until you feel how moving from the pelvis creates this gentle side to side rocking all the way up to the base of the head. By moving the legs, massaging all the way up the spine, rocking the entire spine in this gentle pendulum all the way up to the base of the head. Playing with the amplitude of the rocking, playing with the pace, pausing if it feels right, turning your attention inward to this self-soothing action, directing that rocking right into any place of tension or tightness. Taking about 3 to 5 more breaths, exploring this rocking pattern, sending this self-soothing movement into any area that's sensing a bit of tension, discomfort, or dis-ease, allowing the rocking to nurture that spot, and then pause in stillness. Maybe let the legs straighten out to the floor. Maybe even remove now the foam from the base of the head. Take a momentary pause in Shavasana to let go of everything and to prepare to begin again. Stretching your arms up overhead, just lengthen out real long, stretching through the left side and then stretching through the right side, creating a little crescent moon shape in one direction and then the other. Awakening awareness of the side body now. Even let the head lean to one side, leaning away from the side that's lengthening. Observing whatever sensations arise in your body. And then stretch long in all directions. Noticing what areas feel spacious and then what areas may feel a little dull or a little restricted, or there could be a sense of pinching or sharp pain. Just observe that sensation, welcoming it, breathing into it, being curious about it, and then relax. And then bend the knees. And I want to take, I have right now my standard size balls. I'm thinking I might grab my plus ball or even the alpha ball. I'm going to try it with this one, but I'm thinking that I might grab this size will probably work. Actually, this size will probably work perfect. So I'm going to take my therapy ball into the back of my neck, but off to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off the base of my skull into that part that's curved, that's lordotic. So I'm probably about C3 to begin. And now I'm going to just do a little rotation in the direction of the ball. So my ball is on the left side of the spinous process, so in the back of the neck, but on the left. And I'm rotating towards the ball. And as I rotate towards the ball almost moves towards the right. It kind of moves in the opposite direction. So it actually helps mobilize the rotation to the left. And I'm just going to do a small rotational motion into the therapy ball. So this is pretty specific. If it feels like it's a little too much, you can actually just do it with your head on the foam roller. And then I'm going to work the ball down another segment, and I'm only rotating until I reach a sensational point, a point of resistance, a point of sensation. When I get there, I might even pause. And breathe into that rotation, and as I exhale, I might notice how that allows me to rotate a little further. And then I might be in just a little bit of a different range. And then I can move the ball down another segment. And I can pause for as long as I want as I move down the left facets of the spine. So I'm literally exploring each spinal segment. So I'm just to the left side of the spinous process, or that sort of dinosaur bone that goes out of the back of the spine. And as I rotate to the left, it kind of pushes that bone over to the right, assisting that segmental rotation. So where you find sensation, you know that you've come onto a segment that feels just a little bit limited. And you can pause there and breathe. It might even feel nice to get just a gentle nod when you reach that rotation as well. And seeing what it feels like to pause there in the rotation. And then maybe find one more location. So we're still in the neck, still in the arch of the neck, just above, now I would say, so you're in that spot just above the upper trap muscle belly. So you're still in the lordotic or arched part of the spine. Rotating the head to the left. You'll feel as it comes lower, you can go a little further because you can feel that progressive or additive movement of all the segments above it. And it's a nice way to just ease into sensation and then come off. Easing into sensation and then come off. Easing into sensation, and then come off. Do one more round, and then maybe hold it in that rotation and see what happens as you create just a little nod. It's not necessary. It's using the sensations of the body to direct yourself into positions of healing. And then now in this sideways rotation, I'm going to the left. Take your hand, your left hand. So if you're rotating to the left, take the left hand. If you're rotating to the right, take the right hand. And take the hand to the outside of the right side of your face. So around the ear, the temple, and the cheekbone. And then now, don't push with the left hand, but just push your head towards the hand so that you feel the musculature on the right side of the neck engage. Activate the muscles on the right side by pushing your head into your hand, holding it for 3 more seconds. 2, 1, and then release and feel how the head rotates a little further to the left. Now let's do that again. Take your hand to the right side of the face, right around the cheekbone, and then press your head gently. It's only like 30% of your effort, if that. Just feel the musculature on the right side of the body engage. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and then release. Feel your head rotate to the left. And then remove the therapy ball, come back to midline. And then as you arrive back in the midline, maybe tuck and arch the chin a couple times or rotate the head a little left and right, and just feel the difference in sensation between the two sides. Let any sensation subside. Lean back into the support of the surface beneath you. Feel your body return to midline. And then without any comparison or anticipation, just meeting whatever arises, take your therapy ball into the right side of the neck. We're going to come from the occiput, dropping off the occiput into the upper cervical spine. So you're probably around, it's going to be just under the occiput, and where it kind of first goes in is probably like C3 is where the middle of the ball is. So like in that C3, C2, C3, C3, C4, those top few segments of the cervical spine. And then very gently, just nudge the nose and the chin over to the right, just meeting the resistance. And here at the upper spine, you're not going to get nearly as much rotation as you get as you move down. So just remember that, meeting yourself right at that first sensory barrier, right where the body starts to give you feedback. Right when the body wants to start contracting, notice that impulse to contract and see if you can just allow yourself to soften when you meet the sensation, kind of nudging into that barrier of right rotation, feeling how as you lean your head to the right, the ball actually moves back to the left. And as we're in these upper segments, this is actually a reproduction of a manual technique that we use to treat the phrenic nerve on C3, 4, and 5. So notice if the breath begins to change. And then as we move down lower in the neck, it's also a manual technique that is mobilization with movement, where we actually move the spinous process towards the direction away from the direction we're rotating. So Here you're doing your own manual therapy for the segmental movement, as well as impacting our breathing mobility by stimulating the phrenic nerve here in these upper cervical segments. And when you feel like you've noticed a change in movement, you can move that ball down slightly. So now you'll be in the middle segments of the neck. So we do about 3 ball stops here. Stay to the right side of the spine. So you're just off of that pokey bone that's central. And then rotate the head to the right. And so for me, this standard size therapy ball is working perfectly. If someone has a notable forward head posture, placing a little blanket or a little support underneath the head might be helpful to stay out of the extension in the neck to keep the spine in a more neutral position. And if as you rotate to the right, you notice a particular spot of sensation and want to stay with it, allow yourself to stay there and breathe. Maybe a little nod would be helpful. And then find that last ball stop in the bottom segments of the neck. So say C5, 6, 7, that really prominent protuberance in the back of the neck, if you sort of lift your head, is C7. So you're right up against that, and you're going to rotate to the right, feeling how the therapy ball kind of slides that over to the left. As you come towards the end of your rotation, you'll feel how the therapy ball just sort of translates to the left a little bit as you rotate the head over to the right. And so play with that ball position to find that just right spot. Notice any changing in breathing. And then maybe hold in that rotation to the right. If you're ready, you can add that contract, relax, taking the right hand to the left side of the face. Don't push down with the right hand, but instead push up gently with the left side of the face, engaging the musculature in the left side of the neck, creating a little tension, internal tension or tug of war. And after that contraction, allow everything to soften and notice yourself turn just a little bit more to the right. Letting go, and then one more time, push the head into the hands, pausing, holding for 3, 2, 1, and then release, rotating a little bit more, and then allowing the body to come back to center. Maybe let the legs relax, arm relax, head relaxes. Allow the head to drop into the floor, letting the eyes drop back into the eye socket, softening the lids of the eyes. Letting the brain drop back into the skull, softening the musculature, the connective tissue, the skin all around the head. Let go of any thinking, any efforting. Just allow yourself to melt into the support. And then feel the breath flow in through the nostrils, down the back of the body where the body and the floor meet, into the lungs, filling the lungs like a balloon. Noticing just with that little work, the change in your breath. And then working your way down, take your therapy balls into your tote. First, we're going to come into the upper thoracic segments. Then we'll come into the borders of the shoulder blade. Take your therapy balls now just below that bony protuberance of the cervical spine. So if you bend the head forward, there's that really that first big bony point that comes out. And so now I'm right below that. And so now right below that, I can actually bend my knees and I can get a little chug of my heels. Like my hips really aren't even moving, but I'm just getting this kind of like scrubbing or bouncing action through that 1 or 2 segments right at that transition between the neck and the rib cage. This area can get super congested. And so I'm just doing this little bouncing right here. Body's not coming up, it's just a little up and down kind of head-foot movement. And it can be as vigorous or as minimal as you want. Continue to breathe. Notice if as you add mobility, if there's any tightening, what happens in the face and jaw, what happens in the upper traps and shoulders. Try to minimize any extra effort, keeping that heaviness that we just established. And then now let go of that scrubbing action and maybe turn it into a pelvic tilting action. So it's less vigorous, but maybe a bit more deep, so that the spinous process sits right in that space between the therapy balls as you roll over both each side of the vertebrae. So you're in the laminal groove of this upper thoracic, last cervical segment, this cervical thoracic junction, going over all of the little spinal muscles that sit in the groove, all the erector spinae and the little segmental rotators. And then now move the ball down, maybe another segment. So now you're just in the upper segments of the thoracic spine. And now here I lost a little pressure. So I'm going to take my hips to the Coregeous ball. Or you can also take them to the block or your foam roller. Foam roller might feel a little high because I just want to get a little bit more of that pelvic tilting action or a little bit more of that scrubbing in those upper segments. And I'm literally going through 1, at most 2 segments at a time. And I'm just gonna go up and down. So I'm probably right in line with the top of my shoulder blade. So if you pinch the shoulder blades back, you feel the top of the shoulder blade touch the therapy ball. And now I'm gonna go down maybe 1 more segment. So I'm about between the top of the shoulder blade and then the spine of the shoulder blade. That line that goes across the back of it, from the back of the shoulder towards the mid-back. And you can scrub, you can pelvic tilt, you can also just stay and breathe. There is no right technique. The only right way is to listen to what resonates most in the body, what allows the body to feel easy, to feel free, to feel like it's being nurtured and supported. If you're efforting or tightening, then let go of everything. and begin again. So take a few more moments of that little scrubbing and that little round and arch, just at these upper levels. And then we're going to move down more towards the middle of the shoulder blades. So now the therapy balls are kind of towards the middle of the shoulder blades. And I'm going to make that roll maybe a little bigger. I'm going to go maybe through 2 or 3 segments now, because with my hips elevated and the balls on more of a flat surface and really a less sensitive surface, this spot tends to be more of like a unknown area, kind of like a blank space oftentimes. I can make those motions a little bigger because the nerve endings are actually a little further apart back here. So we need bigger motions to actually sense. So I can go through a couple of segments, then move up, go through a couple more segments. I'm staying in the shoulder blade area right now. And again, try to keep the body as soft as possible. If you don't like that up and down movement, you can go back to your pelvic tilting movement. And we're just exploring, breathing into and sensing the upper thoracic segments. Notice if you can breathe into the place where the balls and body meet. And as you breathe into those places, you may even feel a few little pops, kind of like a chiropractic manipulation, as the body sinks in, as it releases any air, tension, or kind of postural default it may be holding. Take one more round of breath. And then find that perfect segment. As you take the therapy ball out, I'm just going to readjust a little, and find that perfect segment in that space between the shoulder blades. And what I mean by is like that perfect spot of sensation that feels like it needs a little attention or a little bit of love. And then take your hands, interlace them, place the pinkies right at the base of the head. So right at that suboccipital region, so that you can wrap the palms around the neck to stabilize the neck. Pull the pinky side or the ulnar side of the hand into the base of the head, and then wrap your forearms into the cheekbones, so that your forearms actually kind of push into the cheekbones. So now our head is supported and our neck is nice and long. We're not scrunching the neck or straining the neck. Now we can begin to isolate some flexion and extension through these thoracic segments. So to extend, lean back over the therapy ball, and then as you flex, kind of roll up over the therapy ball. As you lean back, let the eyes go up and back. Even arch the low back, and then scoop the tailbone, scoop the elbows up, look towards your navel. And it should feel more like a rolling than a crunching. And what I want you to feel is a rolling over, a closing, and then an opening, like you're opening and closing a hinge in each of these spinal segments that you're rolling over. So you can stay in one position. If there's one spot that just feels like it needs a little love, or you can traverse through the thoracic spine, feeling the movement at a few different segments. Inhaling as you extend and look up. Exhaling as you flex and look down. Reaching back with the elbows and then reaching down with the elbows. Neck is completely supported, no strain, no effort on the neck. All of the movement is through the thoracic spine. And then go ahead, release those therapy balls. taking them out of the tote now, just observe what it's like to lie flat on the back now. Send that breath into the back of the spine where the body and the spine meet, feeling how the whole upper body sinks into the floor. I just changed my mind for 1 minute. You can take the ball, keep the balls out of the tote and bring them to now below the shoulder blades. You can put them in the tote or keep them out, it doesn't matter. And we're gonna come to below the shoulder blades around the diaphragm level. So in the like T9 to T12, so below the shoulder blades, around bra strap height. I just want to get a little lengthening in the lower rib cage before we, right along the midline of the spine, before we come to the shoulder blade part. So here, first hug them right around the spinous process. So right on the sides of the spine, not on the bony part, but just abutting it on both sides. First, hug both knees into your chest. And here, hugging your knees into your chest, feel them sink back in towards the floor, not so much upward towards the head, but into the floor, so that you're pulling them downward to create a lengthening through the spine. So knees pull down, and then also tuck the chin down to elongate the back of the neck. And the balls create a little fulcrum in the back of the spine, like a keystone of the arch. And I want you to think about flattening actually in that space where the balls and body meet. Take about 3 more breaths here, breathing into that place at the connection of therapy balls and body. And then straighten one leg down to the ground. First, you can bring your foot to the ground if you want to pull in the opposite knee a little bit more. Side doesn't matter at all. We'll do one side then the other. And the leg that comes down, then you can straighten it out towards the floor as you pull the other knee towards your chest. Think about using the bent knee to press the body into the therapy balls just a little more. And then hug both knees into your chest. Take a full breath here. Feeling the difference between the sides. And then repeat on the other side. Bring one foot to the floor. Hug the opposite knee in. And then straighten out the free leg. Breathing into the back, right into the diaphragm, and the back wall of the diaphragm. Filling the space between the body and the balls. And then remove the balls. Now we'll come right into the tops of the shoulder blades. So find your a prop for your hips again, either your Gorgeous ball, your foam roller, or your block. Take your therapy balls now out just a little bit into that meaty part of the upper traps, that space right in the crux between the neck and the shoulders. Create a little platform for it. You won't feel much here, but then lift the hips. Hips come supported on the prop, and then you'll feel how those upper traps drop back into the therapy balls now. So now there's a little bit more pressure. So getting some sustained compression, letting any gravity, any weight that normally rests on the shoulders to drain out the other way. And then let the arms come up overhead, compressing even more. And now coming into a positional release for the upper traps. Finishing here in this beautiful inversion, resetting the nervous system, and in this sustained postural release for the upper traps, resetting that muscle length, those motor units where the nerves innervate the muscles, like taking the stretch out of the rubber bands, allowing them to return to normal resting length. Let every muscle relax. See if you can even think about letting the nerves that innervate the muscles relax as we come into this position. Like visualize that electrical energy, like the volume of that tension that we began with. Turning it up a little bit, feeling the sensation and the activation down the arm. Maybe even that resting tone. And then dialing it down. Turning the dial down of stimulation into the muscles. See if you can soften that resting tone, that resting state, so everything can become a little bit heavier. Leaning a little bit more into support, a little less stimulated. So the body can restore itself, to reset itself, and regain a sense of balance, ease, and equilibrium. Feel yourself and your breath cascading down to the floor. Letting go of the weight that we carry on the shoulders. Letting everything drain out. Take about 3 more breaths here. And then slowly let the arms come down, removing the prop from under your hips, removing the balls from under the shoulders. Allow yourself to take a moment in a final Shavasana to completely let go. Integrating the benefits of the practice. Returning awareness to the body and the breath. Allowing yourself to feel supported. Staying here as long as you'd like. And then slowly, when ready, without rushing, making your way back to sitting. Feeling the pelvis on the earth. And then letting the rib cage, shoulder blades, shoulder and head just rest gently on the spine. Thank you so much for your practice. Namaste.